Good afternoon. Welcome to this unit 3 of the session of product and brand management. In the last session, we covered about the product life cycle, and today we are going to focus on the product line decisions, a very important part of any product management strategies. Across the globe, you will find that products have proliferated in a huge manner in terms of the companies trying to capture the unmet needs of the consumers. And the decision that a product manager has to take in terms of a product line, where what kind of products to be given, how long it is to be there, is primarily driven by the business decisions of the company, looking into both short-term as well as long-term perspectives. So today we're going to look at the possibilities of how to understand the product line length and the breadth and how it can be captured in terms of generating more revenues for the organization. Let's look at the product hierarchy level, which we had covered in unit 1. If you remember, there are into different form, product family, and then product line. So we are going to look into what is a product line. Just to rejig your memory, what is a product line? A product line is a group of products that are very closely related and they satisfy a similar kind of a need and are marketed to the same customer groups, mostly using the parameters of maybe the production has been the same, the distribution has been the same, the communication strategies have been almost on the similar plan. So what happens is that you are able to club them under one category. So let's take an example to get more clarity on what a product line is. For example, for a consumer durable company, if you're talking about the air conditioners, let's say, air conditioner is a product line. A washing machine could be another product line. You can talk about air conditioners as another, or refrigerators as another product line. So under this, if you see the refrigerators, ACs, and washing machines, you will find each of them cater to. They have a number of brands under the group, which cater to diverse needs of the customers. They have different dimensions, but at the same time, they cater to a similar kind of a need of the customers, are marketed almost in a similar manner when you look into the marketing strategies. So that is what is an example that I can share in consumer durable. If you go down to, let's say, something like your consumer goods, if you talk about HUL, Hindustan Unilever offers so many product lines. Suppose you're talking about soaps. Now, under soaps, you have different kind of soaps. You've got Lux, Dove, the Margot, and so on and so forth. So you will find that they have n number of brands which are covered under soap, which have different kind of focuses to meet the diverse needs of the consumers looking for soaps, and it gives you a length to leverage out in the marketplace. So when you deal with the product line, it from the practitioner's point of view, it gives you a lot of scope to give more value added products to the customers, and at the same time increase the profitability of the firm. So that is why we are looking at the product line decisions as a very important part of product management. Let's look into the product lines of if you look into the sales and the profit perspectives of a product line. Again, if you look into one product giving you a particular kind of sales, but if you have a assortment of product under the product line, you will find that you are able to scale it up higher or lower and cater to higher sales. You're able to generate more sales, and more sales means more profits. You know that obviously the profit margins can vary across the product depending upon the kind of demand function it attends to, but definitely it is a kind of a win-win situation for a product manager to make more revenues out of a given market opportunities. And further, it also gives you a kind of a dominance as a from the other competitive. So it is somewhere down the line, if you have a more number of products available to in the marketplace, as a competitive strength, you're able to ward off competitive image, saying that you have a better market position compared to your competitors, right? Uh, a product map, if you see, it talks in terms of the assortment of the product lines which are offered to the market and it versus your competitors. It also helps us to understand the market segments that you are catering to with your assortment of products. So when we look into the product line decisions, we look into a product management in totality. We look into a product line analysis, which looks into what you need to do with your product line length as well as the product mix pricing. Today's session, we are going to focus on the product line length. Now, if you see the product line length, there are a few things that we can do as a part of the various strategies that you can adopt to leverage out of your product line. As you said, that it is a group of products that you are giving under, which is catering to similar needs. So the point is that it basically looks into your the future of your company, how you can expand your base, how you can leverage out of it, how you can get more returns out of the market. And the company's objective is often aligned to your product length, right? And it influences your product length, rather, I would say. So when you draw up your marketing plans or your vision plans or your company's business objectives, you will find they influence what should be the product line decisions that you need to take. So some of them which we will talk in terms of today's thing is that we will also find that yeah, how it can be leveraged out. Apart from this, there is also increased pressure which the product managers feel from within the system. Like for example, there could be increased awareness requirement from the production. If you have a production capacity which can be exploited, there could be a need for that. And if you see, the trade channel members may also ask for more products to be catered to depending upon the consumer perception. Sales and marketing people often try to tell that, okay, they try to give inputs saying that we need more complete set of products rather than focusing on few products in the marketplace. As a result of which, you have to cater to those emerging areas. But at the same time, everywhere you will not find that the top management would be conducive towards extending the or introducing new products, because new product introduction calls for more revenues, more money to be put in, more investment to be done. So that needs to be traded off when you're looking into a product line strategy. So what are the various strategies that you can undertake, a product manager can undertake to ensure that they can leverage the market opportunity better? So let's look at few of these product line strategies. First is the line stretching. Line stretching is something where we say, if you remember in the last class, we talked about how you are going to stretch the product line by adding certain features to products and introducing them in the marketplace, or you can delete some features of the product and introduce them as low price variants, or it could be double way. So you're stretching your product line by tweaking your product attributes in some cases. Some cases you are deleting them. Let's look at the first one. One is called the downward stretch or the down market approach. Down market approach looks at, as I told you, that there may be a requirement for you to play in certain markets which are dominant, where the volume of purchases are higher, and you need to bring in low variance into the marketplace. So obviously over there, you can find growth opportunities higher. Hence, you would like to get into that space by giving a low variant product into the marketplace, where you can leverage out of the volume which is expected in that market. Of course, a lot of retailers, the big time retailers, do exercise this kind of strategy to cater to the larger volumes. Sometimes company try to use the downward stretch as a strategy to ward off the other competitors, the low end competitors, by by creating certain kind of a barrier. You see, because if you're a dominant brand, obviously you would like to, as a competitive strategy, you would like to defend your market. So what you do, you would not allow others to get in so easily, or they take your market share. So what you would do, you would put up a very strong opposition by going down and lowering the product and putting something over there so that the market share does not go to them. As a result, what happens? You are able to capture the market. And also, the middle market sometimes, it is, you may find that it is decreasing or it is stagnating. So if it is stagnating, obviously it gives you an opportunity that can I scale it down and offer the products to the markets and increase my the products in the marketplace. Very good examples you can take about detergents, for example. Surf gave a befitting reply to when Nirma was launched by bringing in wheel into the marketplace at almost half the price. Obviously, Surf could not come down in terms of the price points, so they had to stretch it down by adopting a pricing strategy, which was almost half as an answer to Nirma. If you see Ariel, did the same thing to ward off. Ariel is again a premium class detergent, and they wanted to bring in Tide, which was available at a low price variant in the marketplace from P&G. Parker pen, you must have seen, which is considered to be a high-end product and all that. They have also managed to squeeze in products which should be basically looking at the lower end of the market, bringing in various low-end products for, I would say, low-priced variants in the marketplace and to cater to the current need. Now, to make the downward stretch possible, you need a very strong brand identity, strong brand image, or a parent brand image to be leveraged, to be exploited. I will not use the word exploit, but rather leveraged. So what happens is that in low-price variants, you may have sub-brands. For example, Gillette has things like Vector Plus. They are low price variants, but since they carry the brand name of Gillette, it has a certain amount of brand image which gives a positive rub off on the new price variants. So it is critical. Even in case of Britannia's Tiger biscuits, it is a very low price variant introduction in the marketplace, but it carries the same image what the Britannia has. So many times you need a very strong brand image to, if you really want to force the downward stretched product in the marketplace. However, there are some risks involved in the downward stretch strategy. That is, number one is if your pricing of the product is not very low enough, if the differential in the price between the original and the one which you're introducing is not low enough, then it may not work. It may rather lead to cannibalizing. It will eat into your own the major product which you're having. It may cannibalize. If you're putting the prices too close to each other, that could be a cannibalization effect. So you would lose out to, your sales from your major product would go down, and it may be taken up by the down market product or by some competitor. If that happens, then of course, if it is staying within the company, that's fine, within your own offerings. But there is a chance that, because in some cases there can be brand switching also possible, because if you are doing it, the competitor would also follow suit. So obviously that creates a problem, right? And many times these downstretch strategies which is adopted from a consumer perspective creates more confusion. So there is a certain amount of risk involved. The other strategy which you can take in terms of stretching is the up market. It is just the reverse of the down market, where you are trying to take some revenues out of the market from a customer's perspective by increasing certain attributes, by raising the features or raising the prices, right? And it basically looks into the superior segments. You must have seen how the luxury brands or premium brand products are being given within the same product line. As it is, for example, Lexus from Toyota, or you have Starbucks in the, basically, of course, Starbucks is no longer talking about coffee alone, it's talking about an experience, right? It is end of the day, it's a cafe, but it gives you a different kind of a feel to give that premiumness. Häagen-Dazs is a premium brand of chocolate, which again looks into a very different kind of an interface compared to other competitors in the marketplace. Brands like Evian in the bottled water also looks into those kind of. Himalaya is another brand which in India which tries to give some kind of a premiumness by up marketing. It's going for an up market stretch, right? Uh, what is there are so upward market stretch is a good strategy, but at the end of it, we have to see to it that it really what the customers need for, because at the end of the day, you have to make things work as a part of and create very unique brand associations with the upward market product, upward stretched products. Few of the good examples are that of Pampers within the or sanitary napkins, where they looked into variants which gave various benefits to the customers. But critically is that whether the customers are willing to do that. There's a lot of insights that needs to drive that decision. The third part is the two-way stretch. Two-way stretch, as you can see, it was cut upward as well as downward movement across in terms of what you're offering. This happens because of a very broadened market where you are looking into a very broad set of markets where you find customers are willing to go up and down in terms of certain product categories. So wherever there is a requirement, you will find that companies cater to a larger segment by introducing 2 3 variants in the marketplace. One would be the major, one would be the mid segment or the higher segment and the lower segment. So mostly you'll find that in the case of your in cars, automobiles, you have a range like LXI, VXI, and so on and so forth. It gives you the depth, but at the same time, it gives you at different price points. So you are able to leverage better in the marketplace. There have been some categories of product which, of course, if you look into the scooter category, they were created as a category of scooterette, looking into the upward stretch from a moped, from downward stretch from a bike, combining that, giving it to the marketplace also. Thereby looking into the bike segment as a product line or a two-wheeler as a segment as a product line, giving more opportunity in the marketplace. Consumer durables like Samsung, LG in their washing machines, in their air conditioners they played in the premium segment. They have offered products in the premium segment, in the mid segment, as well as the low segment. So where they have been able to employ a two-stretch strategy to basically cater to the market requirements and increase their brand visibility in the marketplace. The fourth type is called the line filling in line product line strategy analysis. When we look into line filling, is basically done to plug a particular need gap in the marketplace, right? If you find that consumers are not getting something which your competitor has, then the competitor takes that cake. So obviously, if you find something which can be plugged in with your product, that's where you go for a line filling strategy. Good point that comes to good example that comes to my mind is that of Goodnight mosquito repellents. They've gone into host of mosquito repellent products to basically cater to the market and to fill the gap that is there. Daimler India has, in terms of trucks, they have, if you look into the larger trucks, and the low size trucks in terms of tonnage, from ranging from 9 tons to 48 tons, you find a great range within which the products can be provided. But then point is, we have to see what is the average tonnage that is used by the transport agencies across the country, and accordingly, that line filling exercise has been done successfully by Daimler India. Apart from this, you also have line modernization and line pruning strategies and line featuring strategies as a part to make the product line a little bit more amenable, or in terms of increasing the potential in the marketplace so as to be found attractive to the customers. If we talk about line modernization, yes, we do carry out incremental innovations in the product, but today's market, it talks in terms of innovation. So obviously there are some products where, like in the smartphone market, every 2-3 months you can expect something or the other happening, a major change. Of course, it is driven by one of the major innovation which happens around the year on an annual basis. It definitely happens. So today's company, they have to modernize their product lines. Until unless they do that, they will be caught napping by the competitors, and as well as they will lose out on the market opportunity. Going back to your line pruning and line featuring. Line featuring basically talks about selling those brands which are your considered to be the mega brands in the system, and you would like to feature them more than the others. You can do it at a point of sales, promoting more, getting more weightage in terms of your marcom strategies, to through visual merchandising or through hoarding sites or creating shop in shop promotions within the system to give it better acceptance from the customer's point in terms of attracting the customers as well as ensuring sales happening out there. Going to pruning, as we are saying, talking about product line extensions, product line analysis. On one hand, mostly we are trying to leverage out in terms of what could be the best possible way to increase the revenue part. But equally true is that, do you want to have a product line stuffed with products which do not ultimately sell? There could be some products which may not be selling in the marketplace for whatever reason. They are found to be obsolete or they don't find any takers now. As you in the last class we talked about the product life cycle. Then when you find that there are certain products have gone from the decaying maturity stage, it will start losing its market share, and you will find that those products may find it difficult to hold on to. And as a company, the product managers would not be liking to have it in their portfolio. So in the back of offerings, they would definitely like to take a call in terms of prune it. Pruning is definitely talking about warding off. A case in point is that of where HUL, PNG, they do it rampantly. I mean, if you see the across product lines, many brands have been weeded out in the process because they are no longer giving them the kind of returns which they had. So line pruning is also a strategy which one can adopt. And back in Titan also, if you see the kind of watches which they are bringing in, some of them get phased out also at certain point of time. Again, this is a decision which the product managers have to take in consonance with the market feedback and the sales figures and the sales figures analysis. The sales profit analysis that they do across the markets, across the brand, and see that okay, certain products are not selling, then they have to be weeded out and maybe substituted by some new other products. So when you talk about line modernization and line featuring and pruning, they are options which basically are taken up by companies maybe on a situational basis or as a standard process to make their product lines more analysis more robust and more effective in the long run. This brings us to the basis of a product line extension. So when we talk about product line extension is basically a branding exercise. Basically, it looks into how to increase the products within the product line and what should you be doing with them. So what should be the basis on which one should go for a product line extension? One of the critical thing is that we look into as one of the major basis is the customer segmentation. Obviously, you will find that product line extension by product managers are more amenable to do it because they find that you can segment the customers and you can give better products to them by getting into a product line extension. As a result, what happens, you get additional products to these customers at a low price, and it is most easiest to do rather than identifying a new branding strategy, because you are extending the same brand name across various product lines by adding some features. And if you see the amount of time that is required for giving new products into this as a part of this product line extension strategy is very less, and you can respond faster and is the most less risky. I would say it's the most safest way to make your product line more strengthened. So that is one of the basis on which it is done. Secondly, the consumer desires. The consumer choices are volatile. Taste and preferences change very fast. So to cater to that also, you will find that the product managers do go for product line extensions, because one of the key factors, according to a point of sale research in US, it was found that most of the people for grocery items or basically the household items, the decision to buy or go for a particular brand happens at the point of purchase, when they are at that point of time. So it is like an impulse buy that happens at that point of time. So you will find that a lot of people are trying to increase the presence of various options that are there in the departmental stores, the supermarkets, so that they try to increase the shelf space, giving different kind of product offerings. As a result of which, they get more to choose from. Sometimes it also happens companies also float rival brands in the marketplace so that they can cater to the different price points, which we call as the pricing breadth. Like in case of you will be giving products which are also both of premium category as well as the lower category, and within that you can offer them in the same place. As a result of which, you can encourage more purchases by the customers at the same point of time. Uh, Going by the, if you see, as you have seen in the pricing breadth, there are two ways of looking at it. One, you can increase into premium pricing. You can price it higher and make it available in the shelf space there, and make it to the offer it to the customers. But equally true, you can also go for downward stretching, which I already told you about, and can make available within the day. You, for example, when you talk about Marriott Hotel, the Courtyard is a low price variant offering from them. So basically catering to a price sensitive customer. So you'll find that in their portfolio, they try to go give a breadth of pricing to ensure the product line extension takes place, and they are able to offer better products to the customer. Another basis for product line extension, it could be the excess capacity. As I told you in the initial time, that sometimes a company has certain installed capacity and they want to utilize the capacity of the manufacturing setup to be optimally used. So they would look for that how they can increase the how can they use the excess capacity that they have within the, and product line extension helps to utilize that particular excess capacity which is there with the organization. So obviously that is also some kind of leveraging that a firm would like to do to utilize their infrastructure in a better way to manufacture more products. In terms of product line extension, the another basis is that it could be a short term. As I told you before, it is one of the most easiest techniques employed by product managers to enhance their brand visibility in the marketplace, and then also at the same time generate more sales. So it can be taken up as a short term thing, but then it has also got a problem in terms of people taking it very easily to just get into this bandwagon of increasing it. The problem happens when you find that when you get into a senseless kind of an extension, when you find that you are confusing the customers, which I've already told you earlier, cannibalization taking place. One has to also understand that in today's market, when we're talking about market share and profitability, you will find that such extensions as short term helps to ward off competition better. So in terms of competitive intensity, you are able to fight back the competitors by getting into the product line extensions, by giving better products, and also it increases your shelf space at the point of purchase, which I have also indicated some time back. So you would try to give more offerings, so you'll be more space, you'll give it more space there. Sometimes you float multiple brands, right, within the product line to cater to, so giving them the more range. For example, you talk about detergents, you talk about two types of detergent brands, which could be giving more options for the customers to buy. So it definitely helps you to take care of the competitive intensity and fight back the challenges faced by the competition. Trade, if you look into trade pressure, obviously today when you're talking about the retail formats, whether it is an online, when you say online, offline, we're talking about mostly the offline traditional formats. You'll find the departmental stores or the retailers who are there. They have also started coming up with their own private label brands. So if you are expanding your product lines, you also meet certain amount of pressure among them, because they also try to see the return on investment from the retail space. So they would like to see that whatever SKUs they are paying, they are able to leverage out of it. And if you are increasing the SKUs, they have to provide more space. So obviously retailers would like to give their own brands as well as other product brands or other competitive brands also. So that creates a kind of a pressure in the marketplace, and you're able to cater to, if you have a dominant product line in the marketplace, you can handle that trade pressure quite effectively by getting into this varied product categories. Let's look into the disadvantages that could accrue because of a product line extension. Like there is a positive, we have seen it is a very easy way to get in and all that, but there are also negatives. As I told you before, if you are extending just on a very flimsy ground, like not very having very clear identification of where the extended products should come into or the stretching should happen, it might lead to a negative rollback in terms of people may get confused, it may lead to brand dilution, it may lead to a kind of a negative reaction from the customer. So a weak extension strategy or a weak product line extension may actually weaken the objective of enhancing the product sales rather than it, becoming a kind of instead of increasing, it may affect you in a negative manner. So one has to be very careful about it. Second, we also look into the lower brand loyalty. Obviously, loyalty is the behavior; it's not an attitude. Loyalty means what? A consumer who is regularly buying your product. Now, the moment you, instead of giving one, you are extending the possibilities, the loyalties are likely to shift, right? In today's market, the shifting, we have to see that it does not go to the competitor, what we call as a brand switching behavior. So that can really spell disaster for the brand extension point of view, the product line extension point of view. Sometimes another area which I would say is the unexplored area that you have gone into by bringing up some new products in the market. Many companies also leave they leave a lot of opportunities for competitors to set in, because you get very tunneled view of the opportunity which is there, and many unexplored areas get explored by your competitors, and they try to get in and leverage out of the situation. So it makes you very tunneled on only focus. So it's, you can say it's a kind of a myopic strategy which sets in. Most of the people feel that if I'm extending the product line, it also helps the category. Sources, I mean, data has proven otherwise that even if you increase your product lines, it may not actually increase the category demand. In fact, they could be negatively correlated. So senseless getting into an extension because it is easy can really get you into a trouble situation. I've also talked about the trade relations. By getting into an extended product line, you could be endangering the relationship with your market intermediaries, like the retail space. Because understand, retail outlets would not like to give more space to you because they have to cater to diverse needs of the customer. So the moment you increase your space out there, and on top of that, they are also looking into their own brands, which are the private label brands. So you'll find that in most of the superstores, the private label brands have started proliferating in a big way in the point of purchases. So over there, so there is a certain amount of resistance that you are likely to face. As a result, it may result in very bad relationships or sour relationships with the intermediaries, basically the retailers. Going on to competitor, you will find that I have told you that sometime before, I just mentioned this, that whenever you are looking into the unexploited area, you get focused only on your product lines, and you only focus on the ones which are doing well. Maybe you're not looking into the other SKUs which can be more profitable. So that gives an opportunity for the competitors to make inroads and enter the market. For example, in the Colgate, it did happen. If you remember, the Colgate faced a problem with Promise, right? It was at that point of time it was owned by another company. It is now owned by Dabur. Promise was considered to be having something called the clove oil. I think that the Colgate sales during that year plummeted because of that, because it was hinged on a very strong home remedy which people could accept it. So those are the things which we are looking into. That if you are looking into a product line, if you get an offering from your competitors which plugs the gap in a more unique way, then you lose out also. So there are opportunities which can be lost as a part of the product line extension. So these are some of the negatives of a thing. But having said that, yes, it is more acceptable to product managers to go for a product line extension strategy, because it helps them to because you already got a stronghold in the marketplace. It helps to strengthen your marketplace by giving more products under the same branding. Going towards the next set of things is that what are the factors that influence product line decisions. Under that, we will look into various factors. For the first thing that comes to in focus is that of the category size. Now, of course, if you are looking into, it's an important category size, a very important part of any market, as it says that whether particular revenue can be generated from that particular category or not. So what is the size of that product category is of critical importance in terms of warding off competitors also. If it is it's obviously, if you plot it against the different the stages of the product life cycle, the category size may be very less initially, but it would improve subsequently depending upon how the consumers are accepting that particular product. Going to the next important part is the market growth rate. The market growth rate, very important, is a very important part of any marketing planning or product planning process, because that's where your entire demand function is calibrated. Year on year growth, where does it happen, across which product lines you are seeing a shift towards a positive thing, and if there are fluctuations, how do you take care of those fluctuations? Those are critical for planning out your product line extensions, or which affects your product line decisions, right? You'll find that larger categories, you will find that obviously the product, if their product categories are growing faster, people would like to enter into that, right? So you can leverage out of your product line decisions. If it is a product that is less, obviously you will not be able to proceed further. And let's look into the product life cycle as a factor which affects the product line decisions. Product line, if you see what we had discussed last class, it is divided into 4 segments, and if you put the category size, the market size, and the category growth, you will find, or the market growth as we call it, you'll find that in initial stages they may be very low, but they would significantly peak during the growth stage. And that's very, very critical. As I told you, which ones you will take up for your category growth, looking into the category size, and that gives us a platform where we can increase or give more products to the marketplace. So that essentially find that in the growth and the maturity stage, these are the stages where you are actually exploring whether you can increase the category size as well as the market growth. And how do you do that? You have to take a lot of data points in terms of where your markets are, where the markets are growing, and how you are going to increase the consumer offtake from your distribution points. So the product life cycle again plays a very important factor in deciding the product line decisions. Next, we move into sales cyclicity. What is sales cyclicity? It deals with the sales of your product in certain product categories. You will find that you do experience certain highs and lows. It may not be there for everything, but it can you can experience the highs and lows depending upon the market conditions. During the COVID times, we've seen that there have been fluctuations in terms of sales. So sales cyclicity has to be as also an important point, that if it is at a high, should we be going for an expansion, or should we go for line extensions, or should we go for various line stretching or downward, upward, whatever the decisions are that you want to take with respect to the market. Similarly, when it is down, obviously you would not like to get into that kind of an extension strategies. The other one is seasonality as a factor. Seasonality, which deals with certain products, which is the inherent nature. Nowadays, for example, we say that some products are only consumed during a particular season of the year. But time and again, it has been proven that okay, some product categories they have been existing all throughout. For example, we talk about soft drinks or ice creams, which are considered to be seasonal, are no longer seasonal. So the changes also needs to be factored in. But having said that, there are some products like the air conditioners and all fans and all, they do find seasonality built into the system. So accordingly, the line extension strategies or the line product line decisions have to be taken. The profitability is another most important, which is of course because we are doing all this to enhance the profitability factor and encourage through more sales. So across, when you look into if the profit levels are low, then obviously we would not be able to, should not go for a and price and profit is also volatile, exhibits a volatile structures primarily because of various factors. It could be factors of production, it could be marketing factors, it could be competitive scenarios, or you're talking about technology changes which takes place in the environment. So if your product can take that into account, you can factor that into your product in terms of giving better products by upstretching. Yes, that can give you a scope for you to go for those products and increase the profitability. So the profitability factor of the variability as well as the profit levels at different stages or at the particular level will be critical for taking a product line decisions. Obviously, if you can map it to the various stages of the product life cycle that we had discussed, if you remember that the profitability, if we are looking into a product category which is in the introductory stage, there is no need for you to go for learning. I've already talked about that previously. Mostly in the growth and the maturity stage, that's where the product modifications or the line extensions are likely to take place because of the already a thaw in the market. There is already an acceptance factor in the market. So hence you can cater to increase your investments there and also improve the product line offerings in the marketplace. As a result, your profitability can help you to, our profitability factors can basically help in taking that decision for product line extensions. Let's look into some category factors which are critical for influencing the product line decisions. Under this, we come across the famous Porter's 5 forces model, which are basically the competitive forces. So any category, they will be influenced by, of course, the threat from new entrants. You will find that in any market, you can never say who can enter the market. So that threat is always there. So the category is often influenced by that. So if you strengthen that, it will be, you will always be finding that if you have a better product line to strengthen any kind of new entrants, then it will be possible to ward off that challenge. But having said that, we have to talk about, and whenever there is a new entrant entering, the general strategy adopted by a company, in case of a product manager, would be to defend. And defending would be mostly how you achieve economies of scale. Now, in line extensions, what are in line product line decisions when you're going for extensions, what can happen is that you can leverage on your economies of scale. You can bring the production cost low, at the same time cater to the market requirements. So this could be a potential barrier. So they can always put a barrier for others to come in. Product differentiation, yes, to some extent can be a barrier for you to enter the market for the new entrants. So if you are able to bring in product differentiation by getting into the product line, bringing new people every time, trying to cater to the diverse needs, you're able to fend off the new entrants. And also, one of the key thing is that what is your position in the marketplace? What are your resource allocation? How you are there in the marketplace? That can also ward off the other companies in the marketplace. Secondly, the switching costs. In case of a category, one has to understand if it is encouraging switching costs, you will have to be very careful about it, because whether you do it or somebody else does it, there could be an opportunity cost. So one has to very clearly understand the factors which influences the category. And secondly, the distribution might. The new entrant who is entering, whether they cannot be everywhere. So you are already an existing player. So a potential threat from a new entrant can be warded off by having a distribution presence and being able to capture, be able to challenge the new entrants uh, entry into the marketplace. The next one is the bargaining power of the buyers. When we talk about buyers here, we are talking about the other vendors who could be there, the OEMs or the distributors who could be there, because they are also buying from you. They have a buying capacity. Individual buyers or in a B2B space, the bargaining power of buyers is very, very high. Individual consumers, yes, to the consumers are far more informed. So as a result, if you're going for product line extensions, would that be really increasing the bargaining power, or will it decrease the buying power? Having said that, we must always look into the let's understand the buyer will always have a kind of a control. So how it impacts your decision to go for a product line decision would depending upon, they could flex muscles in so many ways. They could go for a backward integration and to start producing, may not be going into your products, but having their own products to sell in the marketplace. The classic case is that of private label brands. So if there are private label brands, they could go into backward integration and they will pose a threat to you, right? So if you don't give them, they're not they may not be affected so much, right? And when the buyers get low profits from your product, when these intermediaries they earn less money from you, obviously they will not be interested in it. So they will have a higher bargaining power. So they'll say that we will try to look at alternate mechanisms to get into it. And also, if your product is not very differentiated, then also the bargaining power of the buyer can also be very high. The third part is the bargaining power of the suppliers. The people with whom you interact for your products to be getting to the marketplace as a part of your product line decisions, they also play a very, very important role. If their strength, if the bargaining power is very high, they can create bottlenecks for you. So we need to streamline the supply chains when you look into that. And it will be basically, if it's very, very suppliers are very, very few in numbers, then also your reliance factor on them is also very, very high. For example, raw material procurements, if you're depending on few and you have a heightened product line extensions, you want more of your raw materials. If it does not come through, then they can flex their muscles. So these could be detrimental to your plans of going for a line extensions. Obviously, the internal rivalry, of course, and another point which I forgot was they leverage on the factor that the suppliers leverage on the factor that you don't have substitutes for them. Since they don't have substitutes on, they would like to take. So obviously, when you're looking into suppliers, you need to, today's product managers talk in terms of having alternate mechanism, but then there are quality issues which are involved in it. But it is a very critical thing at a practical level. Okay, next we move into the category rivalry, the intense rivalry in the category in which we are into. It depends upon how much of a market dominance do we have in the marketplace, and how much we can flex our muscles. If there are too many competitors, obviously, it will not be very attractive to get into those kind of categories. We will refrain from getting into those categories and wait for an extension. If it is a slow growth, obviously, if it is not growing at the pace, because profitability is going to be affected, the category size is going to get an impact, as I told you before. So hence, we will not be keen on going for the product line decisions to basically to increase that category. High fixed costs. Obviously, if my fixed costs are high, it would be a detrimental for us to get into that category. Personal rivalries and pressure from substitutes, because substitutes will always be there in the marketplace. So if internal rivalry, if this segment is, if the category is getting affected by substitutes, we have to be always, we need to ensure that we are sufficiently charged enough to take care of any new substitutes that are coming into the marketplace. It's again a part of the product line strategy that product managers have to engage toward of the category level rivalry which is existing. Last, but when we look into the category capacity, we do not want an overcapacity. We want to deal with the capacity which we can handle. When we say because it affects the profitability of the firm. Neither we should be over capacity, neither we should be able to optimize basically in terms of catering to that category. So whether it's through our installed capacity in terms of capturing that particular category requirement. As I told you, that one of the key factors is that you would like to utilize your production capacity to cater to the category requirements. But that is again a decision that needs to be taken looking into the ground realities. It's not that you just rushing into something like that for ensuring that their capacity is made up of. So category should be good enough to take care of you should not be in a position that, okay, you're promising something to the market and you do not have the capacity to do, then it starts eating into your own profits. So you should be managing the category along with the installed capacity of your firm to cater to the market from the production and operations point of view. So that's pretty much what we had to talk about in today's session. But I will run through what we had started off with. If you see, the product managers, end of the day, have to churn out profits for the company. And how do you do that? Through your product lines. So the product line helps us to understand the future as well as the long term and the short term requirements of the firm, and by catering to the right kind of products to be given. So what they do, they try to build, harvest, nurture, as well as weed out. So certain products will be brought into the market, certain products will be taken out. So how it can be executed? It can be executed through the product line strategies that we talked about in terms of upward stretch, downward stretch, or a dual stretch. We could also modernize the product to cater to the incremental requirement of the marketplace. There could be line filling strategies to identify what are the need gaps that are there in the market and then plug it with your own. But for that to happen, it also needs to be further strengthened by the value chain components. When you talk about value chain components, your R&D, for example, it has to have a well-tuned R&D to cater to the changing requirements in the marketplace. Otherwise, it would be caught napping. So as product managers, we have to see that what are the current threats. For example, you are entering a market, what are the current threats that you perceive? And is there a future you can expect other substitutes in form of technological products or innovative products that can come to the marketplace? So your product line strategies have to also take into account the various environmental factors, mostly in form of the competitors, the competitive forces which are existing in the marketplace, and as well as you should be looking at the consumers, the way they are behaving in terms of their preferences, whether it is a consumer durable, whether it is a FMCG product, whether it is FMCS, everywhere you will find that companies would try to get into maximizing the products or services that they are offering to the marketplace. Yes, there is also there are various strategies which are adopted. Product line strategy is one of the most sought after, or rather line extension strategy is the most sought after strategy to tweak your product lines to cater to the market demands. Why is it so? Because you can do something to your existing product line by adding, deleting, giving something new. It is a more faster way of responding to the market changes. Now, when you are catering to any change, now today we are talking in terms of business analytics, market analytics, data points that comes to us in terms of which category is growing helps us to fine tune our product line strategy decisions. For example, if we find the particular category is moving fast or growing fast, it helps us to get into the product line strategies, doing an analysis and getting into any of these strategic initiatives, whether it is by modernization or line filling or by line stretching, that we can cater to the particular opportunity that has created by the marketplace. Competitors, on the other hand, will always have will try to create challenges for to disrupt your product line strategies. So when we talk about competitive strategy, we also need to know about the various defensive, offensive the strategies that a firm can take in order to defend the product lines in the marketplace. If you have expanded, if you have taken a decision to expand your product lines, how will you defend that in the marketplace? By suitably looking into the line filling strategies that we have talked about to cater to the market requirements. If you remember, in the first unit we talked about the different levels of the product augmentation, potential product, are different levels of the product, which should the product managers should be focusing on to ward off the competitive challenges in a better way, right? I talked about the substitutes in the marketplace, you could also say the entrance. Now you may find that there can be entrance from any source. Like LG entered into the FMCG market but faced a flat, primarily because that was not their core competence. Not that they can't do it. As a big company, they can always dig in and put in those resources, but they do not have the basic understanding of the market. That's where you can offset. So as a company, you can ward off that competition by creating artificial barriers. How can you create artificial barriers? By looking into better product planning, giving it a expanded kind of a product line product lines which have products which cater to a diverse needs. You're able to hold on to your customers better, as well as you are giving them something novelty also. So it is quite a larger brand wagon that you are catering to in the marketing space to ward up the competition. So an effective product line strategy would be one where you can have very robust product lines or a group of products catering to multiple needs within the same, which is multiple needs. When I'm saying, I'm talking about multiple areas of requirement of the customer, but catering to the same customer, following perhaps the same method of promoting, distributing, and reusing. When we take that into account, you will find that your product lines will be far more profitable, looking into the future requirements as well as a short-term requirement to ward off any kind of threats from your competitors. With this, I would like to end today's session. Thank you so much.